Welcome to the February edition of the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report. We begin with a look back at the governor's State of the State address last month. On January 24th, Governor Parson delivered his annual State of the State address, which laid out his legislative agenda. Putting people first was the theme of Governor Parson's address. His annual speech to the state legislature marks his final one as Missouri's 57th governor. Education was once again a focus. During his speech, the governor detailed the progress his administration has made in education funding, teacher pay, and workforce development.
And this year, as we propose our final priorities as governor, there is no turning back. We know that guaranteeing Missouri's strong foundation starts with a quality education in our children. This year, we will once again fully fund the K-12 foundation formula with an additional $120 million over last year's level, and we will also fully fund transportation across the state of Missouri.
In addition to fully funding the Education Foundation formula, the governor also wants a $4 million increase in state funding to boost teacher pay.
This year, to do our part on teacher pay, we are including funding to increase teacher baseline pay to $40,000 per year. This represents a $15,000 increase for teacher pay during our administration.
There are many other issues being considered in the current session of the General Assembly that are of great interest to MSBA and school board members throughout the state. As the legislative session progresses, we will keep you updated on the developments again this year through our Legislative Voice newsletters sent to members via email each Friday during the session, through critical issue alerts and periodic webinars. We urge you to stay in contact with your legislators during the session and communicate to them the impact legislation will have on your school district. Don't miss your chance to visit your legislator at the Capitol during MSBA's Advocacy Day. Known formerly as Legislative Forum, Advocacy Day is scheduled for April 9th in Jefferson City. The event will be preceded by a spring virtual meeting on March 13th and lunch and learn sessions on Fridays to provide legislative updates on the issues that matter to you. Check the MSBA website for registration information for all of these events. MSBA is also pleased to sponsor School Board Recognition Month in March, as proclaimed by Governor Parson. It's a great opportunity for school districts and communities to recognize the great work of school board members and the important role local boards of education play as leaders of our public schools. Visit the MSBA website for ideas to celebrate and materials created to help recognize the important contributions of these men and women and focus attention on the vital role these public officials play in the education of Missouri's children. On January 29th, a webinar co-presented by the Missouri School Boards Association, the Missouri Association of Counties, and the Missouri Municipal League was held to educate attendees on the challenges posed by artificial intelligence and how it might impact local elections. Speakers discussed how AI tools, specifically deepfakes, are being used to shape public opinion and impact the democratic process. MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall said that although misinformation in elections isn't new, AI takes it to another level.
We do have some concerns, like you, with our candidates being subjected to some misinformation and disinformation that's generated by AI. Now, that's not something new. We all know, sitting at this table, there has been a lot of disinformation, especially in recent years, that's been circulated to impact elections, especially local elections. Right. But AI is going to take that to another level, as you both have already reflected on, and it's going to impact school boards just like it is both of your memberships. And so, again, it emphasizes the importance of us working together to educate our communities about what is a deep fake, how can you do a better job of identifying misinformation and disinformation, whether or not it's generated by AI. We ought to all be tethered to the truth instead of trying to be influenced by stuff that isn't accurate or isn't factual.
The webinar also featured presentations that provided an introduction to AI, a cybersecurity overview, and legal considerations. To view the archived recording of this webinar, visit the AI resources page on the MSBA website. And finally, John McDonald's Center for Education Safety team will host a 2-day Behavioral Risk Assessment Summit for K-12 school threat management on March 6th and 7th in Columbia. This is an amazing opportunity for individuals and school leadership teams to learn from the leading experts in school safety.
I've supported the response and recovery of 7 school shootings in my career, and I can't emphasize enough the importance of this summit. Our schools continue to see an increase in threats at an alarming rate. Classroom behaviors continue to challenge the learning environment. We can change this trend. We can fix these issues. From prevention to behavioral risk assessment, from threat management to understanding the current trends in school violence, this conference will give you the tools to help make a difference in your community.
If your school team has yet to receive basic behavioral risk assessment training, a free pre-conference training day will be available on March 5th. Visit the MSBA website for more details. That's it for this month. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in March for the next MSBA Board Report.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have guidelines for public participation. Board members and administrators will listen to concerns and respond when appropriate by mail or telephone at a later date. In order to speak during public participation, a public comment form must be filled out and submitted to the board president prior to the beginning of the meeting. Per policy BDDH-1, public participation at board meetings, the following rules apply to the public comment portion of the meeting. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once during that period. Each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. Discussion will be limited to items on the posted agenda. All speakers must provide name and address prior to speaking, and if there is insufficient time for everyone who wants to speak, the board will encourage participants to submit their questions in writing or utilize the process for putting an item on the agenda. I do not have any public.
Nor do I.
Next, we have a report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My report begins with some notes of appreciation. I think you have one in your board packet from Mrs. Gegg regarding your kind donation and the students she was able to impact using that donation. So thank you very much. Last Wednesday in January is a big day for public schools because we record our enrollment and report that enrollment. So as you can see, I've got the last 3 years of data up here for pre-K enrollment, and we're holding steady. Our January count was 83, last year was 85, prior year was 89. So we're remaining steady with our pre-K numbers. For K-12 enrollment, this is something I'm proud of and something that I've been looking forward to getting back to, is getting over that 1,800 number. You can see in 21-22, first day of school, we were at 16-17, and we took a hit during COVID. So we're finally climbing back out of the 1700s, getting back into the 1800s, and that's going to impact our budget for next year as well. As the 19-20 average daily attendance number falls off, we're still currently using that according to the COVID provisions. That number will fall off, and that was 1824. So as our student population increases, that's going to benefit us as that number falls off, and that's going to impact our budget. Also wanted to recognize all of our school board members for their service to our community, our students, and our staff. March is School Board Recognition Month, so please look forward to some cute cards and probably some cute sayings as well. And I think Dr. Mercer and the middle school will cover supper next month for you all.
Oh, thank
So
you.
we're looking forward to School Board Recognition Month during the month of March. Once again, kindergarten registration is coming up for St. Genevieve Elementary School on Saturday, March 2nd from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Bloomsdale Elementary School will hold their kindergarten registration Saturday, March 23rd from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the deadline to start calling and making appointments is passed. So call anytime and make those appointments and get those kiddos in so we can get them registered. Our annual school board election is Tuesday, April 2nd. Filing open December 5th, filing closed December 26th. We have 4 candidates, Mr. David Bova, Mrs. Geraldine Diesel, Mr. Mike Wolk, and Mr. Norman Vogt. Principal reports. Mrs. Heberly, it looks like you're up first. Mrs. Gegg, it looks like.
Well, good evening.
Good
Good evening.
This first slide is all about our Counselors and Kindness Week. Kindness Week, or Counselors Week was the first week in February, and we celebrated Miss Grimminger and Mrs. Kingery. And they did some wonderful things for our building during Kindness Week, which was the following week. They coordinated with Mrs. Rowland at Bloomsdale Elementary, and Bloomsdale has kindness leaders and we have a power council. And they took a group of students out and did deliveries to local businesses. And that bottom picture is at Prism Hair. And then Lois Fligg contacted us for the Ladies Auxiliary. And so we kind of joined forces with her. And while they were out making deliveries, they delivered Valentine's to veterans to the local rest homes in the county. So they liked that. At the bottom, we have students wearing different kindness shirts. That was part of a collaborative effort between the 2 building counselors. They did a kindness fundraiser for their 2 groups, and they sold some different spirit wear. So those kids are wearing those, and that's just a really cute picture. We also celebrated the 100th day of school during the first week of February. 100 shirts, 100 stacking pyramids, hundreds necklaces, all the things that you can think of with 100. We also in February had some Valentine's Day fun. We had some Super Bowl fun. And in there, we even celebrated Mardi Gras, but that didn't make the cut to the slides. We have 3 of our student groups pictured here. The Dancing Dragons selected a new group of students. They did keep 5 existing members, Chloe Yunt, Brooke Jokerst, Zoe Grass, Vera Rutler, and Lainey Jokerst. They tried out and they earned captain. And so they are going to help teach the new 31 members the moves and help with Mrs. Keeker, who isn't able to do all the moves that she was doing before. So that's really nice to have someone demonstrate that. And then I have a link to our art power group. They did what was called Stop Art Video. It's like a 40-second clip. So they had to design the background. They had to move their little pictures to create the animation and then put it all together to make a video. And that really takes a lot of work. And when they're moving the dinosaur like a 1/4 inch each time. And so Mrs. Schnitzler, she arranged for the students to go over to the PAC and watch, watch all the different videos. But, you often think of art as just like drawing, but this is another piece of art that she did with the students, and they really enjoyed that. And our kids enjoyed watching all of those videos. And then the last group that I wanted to highlight was our robotics group. And I know Ms. Koenig's going to be present later for talking about robotics, but she's going to brag on her team right now because she has all the details on how the students did.
Yeah, so I don't know how familiar you are with it, but they literally take just a box of parts and they put together a working robot. And we've gone to 2 competitions. It should have been 3, but Saturday I chose not to go because I was just a little scared of everybody driving. But it's amazing, and there's no ceiling on it. So they can do whatever they want. They can build whatever robot they want. And the whole program is, I get chills every time I tell anybody about it because they exceed anything and they build it and they make it happen. And every year the field changes. And so they have to come up with new ideas for their robots. And they do it. And they'll come back and they're like, I need to make modifications. I need to do these different things for that. So by the end of that part of their competition, they both earn that amount of points. So by the end of the competition, all those points get added up, and they also get tested on their skills, how well they drive, and it's just, if you ever get a chance to go to one of our competitions, I know been doing.
They're really neat to watch.
And I think you left out one key point. They're mostly competing against middle school students.
They are almost,
Yep.
almost completely middle school students because we don't have near, since COVID, we don't have near as many elementary teams around us competing. But we do have a lot of middle schools. So we travel to St. Louis and Park Hills, and so it's almost all middle school. And they think nothing of it. They just go and they're like, okay, let's just do it. It's so awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Koenig.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have our positive office referral video. We'll start with Mr. Bentley Cornell, Blake Rowland, Brooklyn Jett, Bryce Herzog, Carter Brown, Holden Bosler, Jackson Bryant, Laney Jokers times 2, and then make that 3. She's there again. Lee Kreitler, Lucas Pulley, Lillian Heil, Bazakeen Williams, Phoenix Flig, Tessa Richardson, Ruby Wibbenmeyer. And that's the end. And we don't have as many as we normally do, but if you really stop and look at the calendar for January and February, we really haven't been in school that much. So that was a good representation. And then we will round it out with our feature teacher and super staff. These are our January feature teacher and super staff because we didn't come to the January meeting. Mrs. Schnitzler, who was the leader of the art group, was nominated for her exciting lessons, what she does with her art power group, how she showcases students' work, how she develops their creative side. She's always smiling, and she puts a lot of work into preparing that art show each year. And then our super staff was Becky Abishon. She's a SPED paraprofessional. She's always smiling, works well with the special education students. She's patient even when students are having a difficult time, never hesitates to help. She's kind, considerate, and positive in all situations. And then we will have to get the February people next month because those are only going to be announced tomorrow. So that's it for St. John Elementary.
Thank you.
To the big podium. Did you say that too? Oh, it's different. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we will start with our positive office referrals. Up top left, Alice Seaball, Anna Rhodes, Raylan Pasha, Lainey Pelfrey, Lillian Weiner, Keaton Sparks, Brantley Langan, and Tristan Rapp, Addison Jaruka, Aubrey Mazzoli, Malin Bates, Wyatt Boyster, Hunter Turpin, Josie Stammer, Madeline Moran, Grady Rapp, and Nolan Rand. And then our 4th grade class, the whole grade level got a positive office referral for awesome behavior in the gym in the morning. So I felt I better mention that because that's important. Faculty and staff of the month, we have 2 amazing additions to our staff. Nurse Lori Geck. I really love how Nurse Lori has jumped in. She approached me and taking on lead groups, and that group is doing great things. I love how they are presenting in their classrooms. She reaches out about student concerns. She is full of ideas and wants to partner to help kids. I am very glad she's at BLE. I would read that screen, but my vision's not. Mrs. Hook is wonderful to work with. She is a great friend and a great coworker. She wants the best for each and every student. She has gone out of her way to help students who are not in her class and help teachers prepare and plan for students in the class. She works hard and does a lot for her students. Thank you, Mrs. Hook, for all you do. And I can second that for both of them. As you know, we have the book vending machine, and as the students reach their quarterly reading goals, they get to choose a book from the book vending machine. These are just a few pictures. I didn't post pictures of every grade level. And then up here we have Louis Guilford, who was principal of the day. He earned 100 tickets in his classroom. He was saving them up. They get to choose different things throughout the month or whatever, but he chose to save his to be principal of the day. And it just so happened that he got to help me at the book vending machine, along with one of Mrs. Rowland's kindness leaders. They go into the classroom every Friday to do about a 20 or 30-minute sharing circle time with the students. So she came out and helped him as well. And then, of course, I let him sit in my desk. He was excited. So I did a few pictures of students finding their voice. There are 3 students here just pictured, but they are doing things that we did not ask them to do. Little Cheyenne up in the left corner or top corner, she wants to stay after school and help our custodian. So her mom has allowed her to do that, and she stays about 45 minutes every evening to help Miss Peggy, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. We have Aiden high-fiving students after school. He uses that as one of his incentives through the day, and he's out there with us every day, almost every day, high-fiving the students as they leave. And then down here we have Tammy. She was new to us this year, a very shy 5th grade student, and she and Nurse Geck have formed a wonderful bond, and she is helping Nurse Geck every morning. She goes in there to find things that she can do to help her before school. So I thought that was pretty awesome to celebrate. Mrs. Rowland, during Counselors Week, we celebrated her, and as Nanya stated, we went around to area businesses and they gave chocolates and cards. And then she mentioned the sale of the spiritware. I believe that paid for our buses. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Valentine, we celebrated. I couldn't believe the creation of Valentine boxes. Was pretty amazed by how creative the students are. And then we did a faculty and staff Valentine match game after our faculty meeting. So the winners got a little prize, but of course everyone had to present and thought they won first, but it was fun. And then we celebrated the 100th day of school, like Nanya said. And then Nurse Geck, she went into the kindergarten classrooms and talked about health and safety, and she dressed up as a superhero, so they really enjoyed that. She got to put on her teacher wear for the day, so I told her she should have been a teacher, not a nurse, but she does a wonderful job at both. And then we also celebrated the Chiefs. That might be it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. It feels like it's been a long time since I've stood in front of you, so I'm glad to be here tonight to share some things with you. Try to pick out some fun things for you to start with. Up at the top left is a project that Bailey put together for us, and I don't know if you can tell, but those are little dragon paw prints. And every student and all of our employees too in the middle school got an opportunity to fill out their own paw print. Mine, for example, said Dr. Scott Mercer, Principal Middle School, and then on the toes I put Family Tradition and Excellence. So that was mine, but kids put all kinds of things on there. If they had a title like for NJHS or Student Council, or if they had a clever phrase that they wanted to say, and some of them wrote the things that are cool right now, and all these are sealed into a time capsule and put in the new edition. So thank you, Bailey, for helping us arrange that. But also thank you to Matt Pigg, the construction supervisor. He and his guys have been just phenomenal to work with, really great partners, not just in this project, but throughout the entire construction project. So we appreciate them as well. At the top right and at the bottom left, those are pictures from Wings. And I chose those things because it seems like so often when I share our Wings photos with you, we have shots in the gym, but we've really tried hard to expand out a little bit so that we have something to offer everyone. And as you can see there, the classics never die. We've got a good hand of Uno going on, Connect 4, but also we're using the library over here so kids can also get on the big Mondo pads and play games. They can play on the Wii, they can watch a movie, all of that, while we also have another group in the gym. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. And we appreciate the teachers that volunteer their time for that, and Mrs. Huffman for organizing that. And then at the bottom right, you see some of our middle school independent study students trying their hand on the pottery wheel in Mrs. Bowman's high school art room. They expressed to Mrs. Koenig that was something that they were interested in learning. And Mrs. Bowman said, well, why don't you come over and let's give it a shot and see how it goes first. You know, sometimes the trial run is important before you make too big of an investment of it. But so they got to share those resources and share with Mrs. Bowman's expertise. Great example of collaboration and really a fine example of the type of agency that Mrs. Koenig encourages in her classroom. So thank you for that. Reese Wibbenmeyer. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but we're trying to make a big deal of it. He has won first place in our conference spelling bee, and it was a tie. And it was declared a tie after 74 rounds because eventually they just ran out of words. So, and I just love this picture. Something about the angle that it's taken from, like he's just ready to take on the world in spelling dominance. And he's going to next month when he goes to Poplar Bluff. He'll be competing in the regionals there. But I also just learned from Mrs. Koenig that Reese has also qualified, along with Ricky Ditch, in robotics, right? So they're going to qualify and go to state. And which particular class of robotics is it? VEX? Yeah, VEX Robotics. So Reese is going to have a busy spring calendar. We're really proud of him and just amazed at that feat. 74 rounds. It's amazing. Yeah, thank you. Dragons on fire for this month. Cameron Beckett, Ashton Dom, Julian O'Neill, Brooklyn Wybrecht, Jaden Jordan, Corbin Gray, Dawson Witu, Kensley Engel, Dresden White Hume, Timothy Wolk, Alex Thorne, Ethan McDonald, and Cade Rayu. And our spotlight for this month just happens to be here tonight, Mrs. Katie Diamond. I think we ought to give her a round of applause. It doesn't always work out that way that our spotlight member happens to be present, so I'm glad that she's with us tonight. And you can see some of the positive comments that were left about Katie. But since she's here in person, I'll give you my 2 cents worth. One of the things I appreciate the most about Mrs. Diamond is her consistency. And I just can't express to you how important that is for our adolescents to have someone that they know is going to keep them in a routine, who is always going to treat them the same way, always going to have high standards. That's so important to them, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate it as an administrator too. So thank you, Katie. We appreciate you. And then I think our last slide is just a little preview of what's ahead. We're getting into that band festival season. Lots of those things coming up. NJHS lock-in this weekend with Mrs. Uzel and our NJHS students. 5th grade parents night is on March 5th with the 5th graders visiting us the next day. And then we have a club day on March 19th, and it'll be time to see you again. Thank you all so much for your support. We appreciate you.
Good evening, guys. It's definitely been a while since I've been up here, and I'm not going to talk long, but I do have to say Mrs. Koenig and Mrs. Bowman in her classroom was absolutely remarkable. We had about 40 to 45 students, I think, in the classroom. The two of them were just bouncing back and forth and trying to collaborate. Mrs. Bowman has 3 or 4 classes going on at one time. Mrs. Koenig's got her kids over there. Mrs. Bowman's jumping in and trying to help with the wheel. It was really, really neat. She said, you have to come down and see this in action. It was just really, really cool to see the collaboration between the two of them and just our kids, middle school and high school, working together. We had high school kids that were back there mentoring and help. It was just a really, really neat moment. So Dr. Mercer hit the nail on the head there. So thank you. I am here. I'm going to introduce Kennedy Bowen. She is a freshman for us at the high school. She is our freshman class president and also serves on my principal advisory group. So Kennedy is going to take her first crack at a principal's report tonight, so don't be too hard on her. She's a little nervous tonight, but she's going to do a great job. So Kennedy, it's all you.
So this is a few pictures from what's going on this month. This is our February calendar. Up here on the top is a few kids from industrial tech installing cabinets, I'm pretty sure. This one, they're doing a water filter test in science. And this one is the Dragons in the News featured in the Commons that the student development seminar is working on. Our ELF student of the month is Alyssa Graff from House Bakers, and our Rotary students of the month are Annalise Figge and Elena Schimmel. Our positive office referrals are Alyssa Bowen, Olivia Klump, Wyatt Crocker, Andrew Castile, Jacob Brissett, Michael Dunn, Justin Harris, Isaiah Stiegel, Sawyer Bowman, Alexander Bosler, Lillian Largent, Hayden Smith, Nicholas Warren, Hayden Woody, Austin Wagner, Chloe Dixon, Mariah App, Heidi Schmelzer, Olivia Kirchner, David Terrell, Abigail Woodard, and Caitlin Ross. So our performance advisors are from Kirkwood, well, and we got to tour their school and the students. Like, we went with somebody else with Kirkwood, and like I went with another freshman and juniors went with another junior. And this is a picture of us, and I think we're doing really well as a small school because there was only like a couple things that we brought back that we don't already do. So that's good for them being a really big school. And then we just got this installed by our maintenance people, our science workbenches in the science hallway. And you see Charlie's on them, but we got stools and we got the laptop thing put up from our maintenance people. This is our senior development seminar doing field replica again since it got changed. And this is JC Bowman working on the new mural in the Commons. Last week was snow coming. This is part of the Powder Buff game. The students absolutely demolished the teachers.
She's right. It was
And this has been love doing this in volleyball. Our roller chair basketball game again. Schwartz team won. Staffen that was really bad. We have our annual dancing during the assembly, and this is our theater club performing a little preview of the play Mamma Mia this spring.
Is that why Miss Staffen didn't come to the meeting?
She didn't want to see that.
Girls basketball and boys basketball are competing in districts this week or this weekend, next week. Wrestling, I know girls went to state today, and boys I think are tomorrow maybe.
Kennedy's bowing out of clubs, so I'll chat about the clubs a little bit. Just a couple of those pictures. JC Bowman, if you guys haven't had a chance to go take a look at that mural, please go take a look in the comments. It is absolutely phenomenal. She's doing some great work, and it does a really good job of complementing what Hannah Nagger has up there in the comments, which she had created a couple of years ago. So please take a moment, go check it out. It's really neat of what she's kind of putting together. So our clubs have been in action, and we've seen a lot of really good things from our speech and debate team. Mrs. Uzel actually is here tonight, and they've been working really, really hard. Every time we get a picture that comes through, I'm always interested what this guy right here, Bennett Walls, is going to look like. And one of them, you can see he's got a funny face, and one of them, he had a big sombrero on, a Buc-ee's hat. So it's always a different kind of picture from Bennett. But our young speech and debate students have been performing really, really well this year. They are gearing up for the district competition that is coming up in a couple weeks. Okay. So they will be all over throughout the high school. That actually starts on a Friday, and they will be swamped with displaced teachers, and it's quite the spectacle. And then they'll come in all day on Saturday and perform and get ready to hopefully send some students to the state competition that is back in Springfield again. Our mentors, definitely want to do a shout out to Dr. Draper and Mrs. Staffen. They put together a great transition program for our students each year, and they are heavy into their mentor games at this stage of the game. So you can see they're in there playing dodgeball, but they do a lot of things from word games to dodgeball, just some really good team building opportunities for our freshman advisories to come together. We've actually changed that up in the last couple of years, and we actually have freshman advisory specialists as far as teachers go, and they remain just as freshman advisory teachers. So after their freshman year, those freshmen then get mixed up and they go to a different teacher. And then, so like Mr. Schwinn is a freshman advisory teacher, he will have a different group of freshmen next year. And we really focus on that so that way they can specialize in that transition and what things look like in the high school as those students are coming from the middle school. So that's something that's very important to us. And we feel like it's been super beneficial for our kids and our teachers. And also some things like the freshman advisory game, some of our teachers get real excited and real jazzed about that. It's very, very competitive. And some of our faculty and staff, not so much. So it really gives them an opportunity to have that balance and have some of that competitive edge between those teachers. And then finally, FBLA had their district competition, and our students performed very, very well at the district competition. Mrs. Caitlin Crump, definitely want to shout out to her. And also Brandon Crump drove a van for us because we had too many students. I don't think he really had a choice in the matter. But Brandon drove some students for us this year, so I want to give a shout out to both of them. I also want to congratulate Caitlin. She went and actually passed her certification test today for marketing, so we're really excited for the opportunities. The cups that were displayed there that we took to the Kirkwood students, we actually made those in-house. house. So she's doing a lot of really neat things with some of our design work, the ability to make some t-shirts and sweatshirts. Her and I were just chatting today about hats and visors and bags and all different kinds of things that she can do, sublimation and screen printing and a lot of different things. So we're really, really excited about the opportunities for our students and kind of the direction that she's headed with that. So Kennedy, back to you.
Our teacher of the month is Mr. Toombs for January. The report was, he cares for everyone in our school and wants all of us to succeed. I really enjoy going to see him and just sitting and talking with him. If it weren't for the spell schedule, then we would talk for hours. He is a great coach and challenges us and pushes us to our limits so that we will strive in the future. He doesn't just give us success for our sport. He also helps us succeed in the real world. His advice is always amazing, and he is just a very good person. Thank you for all that you do for St. Genevieve, and thank you for all that you do for me. Thank you for your consistent service to the students at SGHS. And I'm assuming Eli was the one that put that. Every month, Dr. Boyd sends out a Google form, and every kid, it's not mandatory, but like a lot of kids do it. They put in who they think the teacher of the month should be, and then our principal's advisory group vote on like the best, like, comments. For our February teacher of the month was Mr. Diamond. The report was, he truly sets the bar high when it comes to creating a fun and engaging learning environment. His ability to connect with the students is above all, and he knows exactly how to make each class time enjoyable. What sets him apart from other teachers is his amazing teaching style, which is both clear and fun. He makes sure that every student understands the topic being discussed and is always willing to provide additional explanations for those who need it. He never rushes through lessons and takes the time to ensure that all students are on the same page. It's not just his teaching skills that make him an amazing teacher. He is also an incredibly kind and funny person, and he has a way of brightening up the classroom with his positive energy. I haven't had him yet, but I've heard so many great things about him, so he must be a pretty cool guy. Thank you.
Thank you.
This year, when we were hosting the River PD event, I said, Lance, contact Monica and see if you can get her in there, because I think she'll be a good complement to the message that we have this year. And she was fantastic. I want to send a huge shout out to everybody involved in the River PD event. We had a main committee, which then broke out into subcommittees. We had a parking committee, food committee, help me out, student committee. It's a huge undertaking when you're hosting other school districts to your campus and trying to provide them with quality professional. Our committees did a fantastic job, but not only that, our students were great ambassadors for our school district. We had a help desk set up that was manned by students. So anytime anybody, our district is a maze, and so anytime anybody was lost, they could go to the help desk and they could be directed in the right place or ask questions about the schedule. Our cooks, our custodians, our facilities were in fantastic shape and setting something really good facilities to put out. Faculty and staff, not to mention the fact that we were impacted by weather and tried to get everybody. So it was a fantastic representation of what we are here at St. Genevieve and how we do things, and I couldn't be more proud of the people involved in making that happen. So I want to thank everybody.
Two things, Dr. Taylor. First, you'll keep getting the evil eye. Can you turn your mic on?
Thanks, Mr. Gettinger.
But on a more serious note, my wife, teacher here, she had nothing but positive things to say about your guest speaker. She said she listened to her all day long. So it sounded like it was a good.
I think she did a keynote and then she had 2 breakout sessions after the keynote. And I think if you loved the keynote, you stayed for the second breakout session. And I think we had several people staying for all 3 sessions. So their entire morning was Monica talking to them. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have unfinished business, and the first item is the instructional program presentation, middle school foreign language.
So I have my notes on my phone. I apologize. This looks like it's on.
Madame Muzoc, can make one request? You
Yes,
speak
sir.
all in French to us?
Ah, bien sûr, si vous voulez, then nobody understands, so it's cool. But I have to say, so first and most importantly, our world language department works really hard to make our students global citizens. And we have an emphasis on making connections between our local community and international cultures where French, Spanish, and German are spoken. So you can go to, I don't know who's doing the, okay, great. In the middle school French program, in all the middle school programs, it's just the beginning. So we only have one level. It starts in the 8th grade. And the lessons in the middle school French program mirror those that I teach in the high school French 1 program. In fact, every year, the middle school students join the high school French 1 students on our field trip. And it's kind of cute because they're like scared and then they're excited and they're funny. And usually we go to the St. Louis Art Museum, and they have a scavenger hunt where they have to find. They have an adult chaperone, but they also have to find different French pieces of art from different time periods and styles, and so that's fun. They have to take pictures with them, and that's even funnier. All right, so next, what do we do? In a nutshell, we learn to communicate in French, and we learn all about France and the French-speaking cultures and countries all over the world. French is spoken on 5 continents, so that's fun. At the beginning, the very first day of school, I find out if the kids know what a continent is. Specifically, we focus on the 3 communication skills. Interpretive, that is, they're able to read and watch, listen, and say what it means or close to what it means. Interpersonal, that means they have conversations with each other, not long ones. We're not really deep yet, but we can talk about family now. So I have to make sure that, if they need to make up a fantasy family, that's okay. And presentational, so they tell me things. Every week, my students record themselves speaking in French, either a conversation or a presentation. And my favorite, and if I knew that the students would not be absolutely mortified, I would share these videos with you because some of them are absolutely adorable. I have one young lady this year. She has a puppet that is a camel that she talks to, and she literally does ventriloquism in French with the camel. Like, you can't tell that her mouth is moving when she's talking. And then I have a young man who he either grabs his older sister who doesn't even go to our school to do it with him, or he has like a real quick character change between himself and himself by going underneath the camera and popping up on the other side. And I mean, like, it's so much fun to grade these things. At any rate, our kids are absolutely creative and fabulous. And then every week, students interact using French. They read information in French, or they watch things in French, and they express what they mean. On the next slide, there should be a video, and these are a few of my students who were brave enough to let me video them saying hello and introducing themselves in French. So there's a little bit of giggling, but they're 8th graders. So.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Maria. Je m'appelle Je m'appelle Camden. Bonjour, je m'appelle Story. Bonjour, je m'appelle Zach.
You're cute. All right, I'm going to move it on to our next presenter.
So we do the similar things that Bree does. We always, every week for classwork / homework, we do the reading, writing, speaking, and listening activities throughout the week. So if you want to go ahead and move on. We work on a lot of grammar and word order in different cases because you have to have like your word order and then your verb and noun. And so the grammar is the part they hate, but we ground it into them so that they can say things a little correctly every once in a while if they decide to, if it's a good day or not. So the next thing that we work on, we do a lot of, so like our verb endings, and they learn regular or irregular. Okay, so the next slide, we do units. So we've done family, numbers, time. We're starting geography, and that was a big when I decided, told them that's what we were going to work on. So they're going to learn their countries and some major rivers and capitals and placement of European countries where they speak German. So this is just a little bit of the culture and vocab that we've learned. And some activities. These were like they were talking about free time activities, and if you want to play one or the other. This was basically like their final.
Ik heiße Evan, ik ben 13 Jahre alt. Ik wohne in St. John. Ik ben in der 8. Klasse. Ich habe 3 Brüder. Sie heißen Matt, Kieran und Kyle. Ich habe 2 Hunde. Sie heißen Luna und Bama. Ich mag Videospiele spielen. Mein Lieblingsspiel is Fortnite.
So my name is Evan.
Fortnite.
Yeah, they come in and they're either Rizzing or Fortnite or that was Cap, and so they're crazy. But Fortnite, they all play each other at night. All 5 boys are like, "Oh, bro, I got you last night." But so basically, he introduced himself. So for this semester, like, my name is Evan. I'm 14. I'm in the 8th grade. I live in St. John. I have 3 brothers. I have 2 dogs. My favorite game to play is Fortnite. So that's kind of everything, like the speaking that we worked on throughout the semester, and that was part of their final presentation for him. So, and I think you don't have to play Melody if you want. Oops. And then these are just different technology and websites that we use, and I use a little bit here and there in all my classes, but just kind of to enhance the curriculum. Different, like this is Faye. She's from Germany but lives in Cincinnati, so she tells like, oh, Germans don't do this, but Americans think they do, and you're just different cultural things. And then these are just short little videos that they like to watch. Meet the Germans is the same thing, like it'll talk about like the school system or the houses. And one thing we watched, because we were learning about the houses in Germany, when you move, you take everything, like your cabinets and your toilets and everything, and the kids were shocked about that. So yeah, when you move into an apartment or a house, you literally bring everything with you. So just different cultural and different games and activities that we do. So thank you.
Okay, save the best for last. Hola, yo me llamo profesora Cava y les voy a platicar sobre mi presentación. That's my Spanish. So I teach Spanish and I absolutely love my students. My middle school kids, the last bit before pre-COVID and everything has been very hard. I'm not gonna lie. So coming to a school, that is different also, but I have enjoyed this year so much, and I'm so blessed to have these wonderful kids. So these are I have the flag from Spain, but I take great pride, and Frank Hewling knows this, of being from Guatemala because that is where I was raised. So I do talk to them about Spain, and these are some of the greetings that we focus on. Thank you. This is just a brief curriculum overview. So the first level of Spanish is one of those, especially in middle school, that you really have to grab students' attention. If you want them to keep going, you have to get somehow some type of attention to them that will keep them coming. And not to say that French and German are not good, but you just want to make sure that you teach them the basics in case they don't come back. You have at least hola, ¿cómo estás? And simple things like that. So just like Mrs. Hewling and Mrs. Frizzell were saying, we do have the 3 interpersonal, interpretive, and presentational areas that we want to make sure we emphasize in middle school. And then I'm going back a little bit, but we do have a lot of conjugation things that research projects such as a Hispanic country or a biography, so they can get to know a little more of some of the people that are Hispanic even in the United States. Some of the units of study that we have are greetings and expressions. They absolutely love this. I have one of my students here, Rosa. She wasn't in middle school, but she was my Spanish one right now. And she will attest to this. She comes in the door and she's like, hola, just a big greeting, not to embarrass you, but we do have a lot of kids that always come in, and one of the things that we are accustomed to doing, and probably a lot of people that are here would know, is when you come in, you always stand up as a sign of respect, and you say "Buenas tardes." If it's good afternoon, is when I have the kids, it's the afternoon. So we teach them not just the greetings, but some of the cultural things that go along with it. Family is a big one, telling time, the weather, food. They love that unit. And then, of course, house vocabulary. I always encourage them to make posters and put them in your doors, and just so you can see them and you can say them. And some of them actually have come back and showed me, "Look, Miss Cava, look what I did." I said, "Oh, yay." These are just some of the pictures. So whenever you have a birthday, we do sing Feliz Cumpleaños. They don't like to wear the hat, but we do have the hat. This one took great pride in it. She was very proud of it. She made that this peace sign. These are not voodoo dolls, so they look like it, but these are what we call the worry dolls. And there's a custom where they put these underneath their pillows. They love these, so that you don't worry about them. Hey, I know it's funny. We have a great tradition in the Hispanic culture about Day of the Dead. And so I have the kids, if they are okay with bringing a family member. And this time, unfortunately, I had my dad put up there. I lost my dad a couple years ago. So it was kind of hard to see them there, but I wanted them to know, if I'm doing this too, I want them to see the example. But they actually loved it, and they were able to tell stories about their family, which is really neat. Some of them didn't even know about their family. They said, "Well, my mom just gave me this." So, I said, "Well, let's find out a little more about your family member." This is all this year, and I told them to smile big. A couple of them didn't, but we did for Thanksgiving. We did a little turkey disguise, and they absolutely love that. And this is another one here. Just like Frau Hewlin and Mademoiselle Uzel were saying, we do have some of these big time. I'm sorry, I didn't give you a request of that. But the Blockhead is a big one. They love that because there's a lot of games. So kids love games. And Quizlet, Lingua, YouTube, just to get them a little more in the mood of Spanish. And I had a video here. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get that.
I requested access.
Okay. Sorry. Well, basically they're saying, well, if you want to say it up here, Rosa, come here. I'm gonna give you. She knows this. So basically, what I do. This is my Rosa. Don't worry, you're gonna get an A+. So Rosa knows some of the vocabulary because we do a lot of this. And so Rosa, I'm gonna ask you questions in Spanish. You answer them, okay? Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Okay, so they say y usted because as a sign of respect. Y tú if you're talking to a friend. Oh, bien, gracias. ¿Qué día es hoy?
Hoy es martes. I couldn't even think of a weekday.
¿Qué fecha es hoy?
Hoy es martes. 20th, right?
Yeah.
20 es martes, 20 de febrero de 2024.
Perfecto. ¿Cuál es la estación?
La estación es invierno.
Muy bien. ¿Qué? What was the last one? Let me see if you can remember.
¿Qué tiempo
Oh,
hace?
¿qué tiempo hace hoy?
Hoy hace frío y está soleado.
Yes. Okay. So so basically, I asked her how she is doing, what day is today, not just the day, but also the date, so they know how to practice their numbers. And then what is the station or the season? And lastly, what was the last question again? Oh yeah, what's the weather like? So simple things. And that's it. And thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
Yeah, very
Mrs.
good.
Cava, you can do stand-up on the weekend. Right, next on the agenda, we have the Prop SG update.
And we have some guests with us this evening to take over this presentation. You're probably tired of hearing from me and all the fantastic updates that we have. So we have Romy and Tim from KRJ Architects and Colin from Brockmiller Construction.
So you've probably seen all of us wandering campus a lot. It'll be very hard to follow your act. So like Dr. Taylor said, I'm Romy, KRJ, Tim, and Colin with Brockmiller. We're just going to give you a brief summary of what's been going on in the projects and then what is still yet to come. Because of course we were in the middle of them. This is Bloomsdale. So as we all know, Bloomsdale is complete. There's a new secure entrance, offices, and then some space that was renovated as it was vacated. Just a nice picture of how it looks now. And then in construction right now is the middle school. So this is what the site plan looked like before construction. And the main issues were, of course, the access to the third floor and restrooms on the third floor. So that was solved by putting a 3-story addition right where that little yellow box is, which Colin's team has been hard at work right now. And this is just the floor plan. The elevator goes all 3 floors, restrooms on the 3rd floor, counseling suite on the middle floor. That's what it will look like when it's done. Then it's under construction. I don't know if either of you have anything to add about.
Brian, as you can see from some of the progress photos, we're into the finish phase now. We have plans to start up the HVAC units next week and begin flooring. 1st of March, the elevator install is going to begin, and we should be substantially complete with that project, like we had slated into March. So hopefully we'll be turning it over on time.
And we hope everybody's had a chance to see the progress as it's going on. So it's a neat experience.
Next under construction also right now is the Early Childhood Center. So this is just an outline of the property that is now the school districts where we're building. And that's a site plan showing where the building is and where the parking is. And then you'll enter it off of Maple. You'll go straight down Maple and then turn. And then that's the floor plan. It's 10 classrooms, multi-purpose room, admin offices, kitchen, PAT, screening rooms, therapy rooms.
Storage.
Took all that out. And like we said, that one is also under construction right now.
Sure. Foundations are complete. The under slab rough-in for the plumbing is complete, along with the underground electric. This week we're slated to start rocking the pad to get ready for slab pours. And then we have joist and deck and structural steel being delivered at the end of the month. And structural studs will begin shortly thereafter. So the steel has to go up, then the structural studs, then the joist and deck. So it's a little bit of putting some puzzle pieces together. But everything is flowing very well on that site.
As soon as we take pictures, they're out of date, so those are ready.
And then this will be the new main entrance of what it looks like, kind of tying in the schools together, Bloomsdale and Early Childhood, and then also at elementary when we get to that, sort of the consistency between all of the building entrances. That's just another picture of what it'll look like. The tall part with the windows is the corridor between the classrooms, between the early childhood classrooms. And then the elementary school, the main concerns when we were talking through it during the planning stages were the egress into the building right now doesn't meet ADA. And so if someone's coming in, they have to traverse that huge staircase to get in. So bringing the entrance level down and then also adding a gym that is gym-sized, version. So that's kind of where the building will go. This project right now is in the design phase. So what that means is that we're working on drawings, our office along with the engineers. We get those to Colin at Brockmiller and they work back and forth with us on cost estimates, maybe about wall construction types if they're seeing something different. Like on this project, we're doing part of it out of CMU, which is what this is, and then part of it out of metal studs because it'll be a little bit faster and cheaper. So working back and forth like that as a team, trying to figure out what the best facility is for it. And this is just a floor plan of it. So you'll enter right here, and it'll be a secure vestibule, very similar to how Bloomsdale is functioning right now, with the windows, them being able to let you in and out of the doors, or in the doors, so you can always get out. And then the gym, complete with bleachers, and then some offices, and then up into the. And then as we're going through all of these projects, there's also been the talk of athletics and what needs to be there to meet the needs of some of the programs that need some extra space. So budget-wise, we've talked through things, and the idea of a metal building had come up because that's a more cost-efficient way, cost-effective way to get the most amount of space. So right now, the flattest part, of course, of the site is back in this area where the gravel parking lot is, and then they'll be able to be parking in front of it. So possibly locating a metal building back there, and it would, the size of it would be about 100. So if we did it about 120 feet wide, then we could add on to it as funds were available. So the first phase priority would be the wrestling area with, of course, some bathrooms. You would have to have bathrooms. So that would be about 100 by 120. So at about 12,000 square feet, about 2.4 million. Priority 2 would be making that metal building as big as we needed it for future, and then leaving this just as shell space. So that would be about 300 feet long, and that would add another about 1.5 million. And then the third priority would be finishing out that space. And all of this, of course, would be done, like we've talked about costs back and forth, and Colin would know about phasing and how that could really progress through, and what things would need to be done. You know, turf wouldn't need to be added in the other phase. It could be added in the last phase. Some finishes on walls to kind of give that blank slate for more sports to be able to use it. And this is very small to read. This is kind of the summary of the schedules that we all keep between all of us to keep us on track. The red line is right where we are now. So this shows Bloomsdale complete, a high school. This one's elementary. Going out to bid in the spring. This is the middle school almost completing construction. And then the different packages of early childhood, and that finishing up, I believe, early 2025. Going up from that bridge is dangerous. And then the athletic facility is just grayed out because that's really cost dependent on how all of the other projects are coming in. This is a summary of all of the project costs. So what that means is that it's not only construction costs, it's not only design fees, it's also soils investigation, furniture budgets, sewer work, asbestos abatement, all of that fun stuff that sometimes you don't see. So it's all on this little chart. Alan, do you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. So as you can see, the different columns are your different projects, and then the different rows are the different types of costs. And you know, there's soft costs, and then there's construction costs. And as part of this process, we look at each individual project, and we try to budget it as it's being designed, so that we know that we're going in the right direction. And we've tracked our initial estimates versus 75% complete drawings versus 100% complete drawings versus actual bid results. And so far, I think we're tracking very well with our estimates. Bloomsdale was a little bit over what I had originally estimated. However, the middle school was a little bit under. The early childhood was quite a bit under what I estimated, which is great news. So we track the actual bid costs, and then we're also tracking the extras. So Right now, Bloomsdale finished under, so we ended up crediting back about $46,000 in savings. The middle school right now is tracking about $51,000 in savings. Early childhood, right now we've had ads of 16,000. We've actually got a handful of approved cost proposals that are going to be in a change order for various value engineering things that we've done to eliminate out of the design without sacrificing the design. And that change order is going to be a credit of $170,000. So right now, that's a testament to your architect's design and your contractors that you've hired, and we're very pleased with that process so far. So I can tell you from the other school districts that we work in, especially north of here, your pricing is wonderful. So you guys are bringing in pricing with local subcontractors and economical and efficient designs that you guys are really yielding the benefits from all of those variables. And we're tracking that across the board. And we're getting ready to do the same process with the the elementary school. And then we get to the athletic building. So the athletic building, as Romy showed, we're identifying a path forward. And ideally, right now we're saying, okay, well, hopefully you can afford that whole thing. And that's our plan. But if we run into something unforeseen or we have a hiccup, we have backup plans in place, contingencies, and those are alternates, in the form of alternates. So you have the wrestling facility is maybe your base bid, the shelf space is maybe an alternate, finishing out the rest of the shelf space is another alternate. And ideally, you finish that under this bond issue. If something comes up and you have to kick it down the road to the next bond issue, you've already got the design completed at that point. So you're just tabling it until another day. So very pleased with how the numbers are coming out though, and KRJ's design.
So your total there, you're right under 22.7 right now. So, I mean, bids are coming in good. So I think, working back and forth has been really helpful to figure out. When we first do an estimate, we'd usually do a cost per square foot. And then at the end of it, Colin's been able to show us, well, the cost per square foot was this, and it's been pretty close to what we've all thought in the beginning. So it's been very nice.
Dr. Taylor, you want to clarify that the 2.7 overage, where it's coming from?
Right.
Well, not like the investment earnings we're getting to cover that.
Does that 22.7 include the finished out metal building, or is that, because that's
Yeah.
the goal?
So that 5.1 right there is the whole thing together. So we're including that in that 22.7.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to step back. Whenever we look at that timeline, I always say the only thing correct on that timeline is the red line, which is today. Okay, so there's a lot of different factors that could come up. Colin's talking about unforeseen costs that might come up. Up to this point, we've been really good. We haven't had any soil that needs to be corrected significantly, or significant electrical or sewage or plumbing that has to be moved. We've been able to handle those items as they come up. So keep in mind, these are not concrete numbers. We have high hopes, and we've had high hopes from the beginning, and we will continue to have high hopes that the numbers come in low, and that we're able to avoid any significant increases in costs due to materials or issues that come up. That being said, when we sold the bonds, there was a premium on those bonds that was made, and that went into an account, and then we pulled down the entire amount of the bond issue into $10 million increments, and then the money that was not being used at that point was then put into an investment account. And we have done well with our MOCAD investments, and they continue to bring interest income in, and that all goes into the pot to help with all of the projects associated with Prop SG. So We're trying to manage it and be fiscally responsible. They've done a fantastic job as partners, looking for ways to save money and trying to solve issues proactively rather than waiting until after the fact and something's done and then we have to fix it. So really, really pleased with the process so far.
Colin, when we went through the CMAR process, I know, gosh, that was a few years ago. I don't know if it was the same 7 or not, but we stressed local contractors. And what I hear you saying tonight was that has seriously benefited us.
It has. Like I said, we work not a very big geographical range from here, but the climate to the north and to the south is different. You guys have a lot of great contractors that reside in St. John County that we work with. You know, we take with us up north and down south, and you've had really good bid coverage on almost all the bid packages that we bid, and I'm pleased to work here because I know the type of subs that you have here, and I know the type of quality that we're going to get without even requiring it. They know what's expected because they do good work. So yeah, so you guys have some really good qualified subs, and with that, they've brought in some really great pricing for your projects.
And I think along with that, you've kind of seen some of that progress, but as we get further, it shows in the end result because they want to do a good job. You know, they want to show that. So I think it showed in Bloomsdale. It's going to show, you know, the projects that we completed.
That's great. As I know farmers would like to see a little more rain, but we had a dry fall. But has the recent rain put us behind it?
We have had several weather days on the early childhood with the winter weather that we had a few weeks ago, and then here's some wet weather, but it has not put us behind schedule.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the 2024-2025 proposed school calendar.
In your packets, you will see draft 2 of our school calendar. You were given an initial draft of the calendar last month for consideration. Our process has traditionally been to develop an initial draft, which is in essence taking our current year's calendar and rolling it over to the next year. This draft calendar is then shared with the calendar committee and faculty and staff in a survey. This year our survey was open from January 9th to January 19th. The calendar committee met initially on December 12th to discuss and roll over the calendar. We also discussed several items regarding adjustments that might need to be made to the calendar. We met again on February 5th to review the comments from the survey and finalize a draft of the calendar for your consideration. So I'm going to highlight some of the bigger points on this calendar. Dead period is August 3rd to August 11th, and the board approved that on August 29th of 2023. We will have new teacher PD days, August 5th through the 7th. We will have orientations, additional PD days, and open houses, all leading up to the first day of school, which will be Monday, August 19th. We will then have a PD day on Monday, September 7th. Parent-teacher conference will be held after a 1 p.m. dismissal on Thursday, October 24th. There will be no school on Veterans Day, Friday, November 11th. And here's a change. Thanksgiving break will begin with a full day off, Wednesday, November 27th. That has been a consistent request on several surveys over the past several years. There's a lot of people who travel over Thanksgiving, and we typically get out at 1 o'clock, and they have requested over the past several years, maybe we could get out a full day that day. So the Christmas holiday, which I'll get to in just a second, allowed us to go a full day and provide some time that we might be able to get off Thanksgiving Day. So we're going to try it this year and see what happens. Our winter break will begin at 3 p.m. on Friday, December 20th, and that's a change as well. Instead of getting out at 1 o'clock, half day on December 20th. We're going to go till 3. The committee looked at that and looked at how far away Christmas, December 25th, is from the 20th. They've got the weekend and then a couple days, and that's typically when you get your last shopping done after you get out of school. So they felt like that there was plenty of time to get that done and get those 2 hours back from that half day. Second semester will begin with a PD day for all employees on January 6th, with students returning January 7th. Again, this is a change this year. Today, as a matter of fact, is our PD day after the River PD event. Last year, there were some comments that said, hey, we have that River PD event, we get some ideas, and then we're never able to talk about it again. So maybe we could put a PD day backed up to the River PD event. So that's what we did this year. There's also been some comments about coming back to school in January and having a professional development day, just some time to get organized, to get things caught up, to collaborate a little bit in preparation for students coming back January 7th. So the committee felt like that was a good time to try that as well. Our River PD event next year will be held on Friday, February 14th, which will be at Jefferson R7, followed by President's Day on Monday, February 17th. Spring break is scheduled for the week of March 24th through March 28th. We are scheduled to get out at 1 p.m. on April 17th to begin our break over Easter. And our last scheduled day of attendance is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, with our last PD day scheduled the following day, Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. We will continue to include 2 traditional inclement weather days, transition to 5 AMI days, and then return to the remaining 3 traditional inclement weather days if needed. Last possible makeup day for students is Wednesday, May 28th. We have a total of 1,092.5 hours of total student attendance. We had 1,097 hours last year, and the state requirement is 1,044. It continues to be a goal of the committee to maintain an open process that allows everyone the opportunity to review the calendar and provide input. The committee reviewed all the comments and worked hard to produce a calendar that not only meets state requirements but also considers stakeholder input. It is important to produce a calendar that protects the educational integrity and not simply produce a calendar of convenience, and the committee feels like they did that here. I appreciate the work the committee does. It's kind of a thankless process, meeting twice a year and trying to roll over a calendar and take everybody's input and really consider it is a difficult task, and they do a great job. So I would be happy to address any questions you might have about the calendar.
Graduation, 7 p.m.
Yes, you might note that graduation was moved up from 8 to 7. So if you'll remember, graduation was moved to the 10th, which is a week earlier than it traditionally is because there's some concern about state track and athletes that we might have at state track. So it was moved to the 10th. That's sectional track day. Dr. Boyd, you might help me out here. State track, they added a class, and now there's 3 classes on one day. Is that correct?
Since the many years ago, they've added an additional class, and so now they've had 3 classes on a given weekend. In the past, or in the last several years, class 3, 4, and 5 have all been together. They actually just have increased the number of athletes that can be on a relay, which means that class 4 and class 5 schools are going to take the maximum amount of kids, which is overloading the hotels, restaurants in the Columbia, Jefferson City area. And so they've elected to move class 3 with class 2 and class 1, who won't be able to fulfill 8 kids on a relay. Like those are just smaller schools that aren't going to be able to do that. They're not going to have as many students or as many student athletes there during that time, so they feel like the move for class 3 to the first weekend makes sense. But when they moved 3 classes to a given weekend, the length of the state meet has significantly grown. So I know when they had 2 classes on a given weekend, it was usually over by 4, sometimes 4:30 at the latest. They were out of there, which then gave students an opportunity to hop in vehicles and rush back here and be able to make it back for graduation. That has since changed, and now the final event's getting over. The event is getting over somewhere between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. Then rolling up on podiums, if you're in the top 4 teams, there's no possible way that students are making it back for graduation.
So we moved it to the 10th during the sectional season, which should be a little shorter and provide those athletes time to get back for graduation. So Dr. Boyd and I talked at length about it, and he thinks that 7 o'clock is doable. Of course, if those athletes are in transit, we can wait for them. We can postpone a little bit.
Yeah, we can, Dr. Taylor and I talked a little bit about it, like leading up to when we know how many athletes have qualified, and if we have seniors that are in some of those later events, we'll know the time schedule. And so if that means that, you know, a couple of weeks ahead of time, we need to blast out that, hey, we're gonna try to start this at 7:15 or 7:30, it gives us the latitude or the ability to be able to do that and kind of be transparent with individuals and let them know that we're gonna push things back. But I think if everything goes well and everything goes smoothly, depending on how far we're traveling for sectionals, will be the other kicker. So.
Well, I certainly appreciate the 7 o'clock. I know we got a lot of requests for that. So, but obviously, we need to push it back, keep everybody safe.
And those kids honored who earned the graduation.
Right. I like seeing another spring break in here, like we have this year. I noticed it's not following Easter. Do we think it'll kind of fluctuate just how it fits best?
Yeah, it all depends on when Easter falls.
Right.
Easter was so early last year that we were able to just butt those up against one another. Every year it's going to be a transition.
Yeah.
And it does kind of break up March because
I
it would
saw that as
be,
well.
you would go from the 17th of February all the way down to the 17th of April.
Mhm. Yeah, and I initially rolled spring break over to correspond and back up against Easter, but then it's like you come back for 3 weeks and you're done. That's not really a spring break.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick question about the AMI days. 5 is the state maximum allowance.
36 hours is actually the state allowance, yeah.
Okay.
See, there's a teacher work day included in the early PD days.
Yes,
Rolled out.
our traditional teacher workday. We have 2 traditional PD days and then a teacher workday, right, Dr. McCoy?
2.
So 3?
3.
Dr. McClard conned me out of another PD day.
Don't put that on tape.
We traditionally have 3 PD days at the
Yeah.
beginning of school.
You do.
With 1 workday, yeah.
Look, the full day before Thanksgiving's big. I remember,
Yeah.
The request was just a half day. Okay, we start doing that. I'm like, well, maybe we'd like the whole day. So we're at the whole day. Yeah.
But it worked out nicely this year.
Couple years
Will
last
will it
week,
always
Tuesday too.
work out so nicely?
So
Christmas Day
you never
weekend?
know what, I'm going to give you a bit of history back when I was in the classroom. We came back from holiday break, Christmas break, and we would come back to a PD day. Well, the calendar committee received a lot of comments about that's a wasted PD day. Why are we coming back and having a PD day? So that's why it was taken out. So these things seem to be cyclical, and you know, we've tried it before, but you don't want to take a hard line and say we've tried that before, we're not doing it again. Well, it might be beneficial now. Times have changed a little bit, and it might be beneficial to give everybody some time when we get back to collaborate with one another and get some professional development in. So, yeah, Christmas fell at a time this year. It just seemed conducive to go the remaining 2 hours. So that gave us 2 hours to play with. Well, if we take those 2 extra hours and we apply them to that day before Thanksgiving, we get much, much closer to having an even number as compared to last year. So that allowed us to do that this year. That's not always going to be.
So I think it also depends on the fact that Labor Day falls early in September this year because,
Right.
or this coming year, so you can start school earlier.
Right.
Right.
Speaking to that, I know we were worried a few years ago when we were dictated when school would start
Yeah.
about splitting the year, and we reduced the hours a little bit, but it's a good balance. 269 hours one semester, 271 the other. So a lot of work into that. I'm sure.
A lot of work went into that and a lot of adding up of those hours to make sure that we are balancing as much as we can. You know, that being said, you never know when snow days are going to happen. We haven't had any before January recently, but we have in the past. So that, you know, snow days rear their heads and then those days get added to second semester and that unbalances it somewhat. But right now they're pretty good.
I'd like, you know, I know there's a lot of schools now that are going to 4-day school weeks, and I'm glad I did the 5. I don't First, I want to see the 4-day school week. I don't think it's good for kids, but
Especially since state board come out and said that there's no negative effects of 4-day school weeks on educational opportunities, and it's hard.
I think one of the challenges for us is our geographic area, and the amount of time we have students on buses and the length that our buses have to travel to pick those students up. Other school districts in the MAAA go 6.75 hours a day. We go 6.5 hours a day. We're on the lower end of that because of our geographical area. When you're a school district who can pick up 0.25 every day, that adds up, and you're able to have a fall break and a spring break and a little more time off during the school year. It's always been our challenge, and why traditionally we haven't had a spring break. We were able to squeeze it in last year, and this year, and I know people are looking forward to it. So,
Caledonia announced 4-day school week.
did they really?
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I don't know what we're doing with time changes this year. It seems like it changes every year what we're going to do, whether we're going to honor it or not. But if we can keep kids not waiting for buses in the dark, I would much appreciate it.
absolutely.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 school calendar as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve the calendar as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move on to new business, and the first item is the amended budget.
Yes, you have in your packet the amended budget.
I think Jen.
I spent quite a bit of time working with Mrs. Roth on adjusting known items. There are several known items. The main one is our assessed valuation and the amount of money we can expect to collect from local taxes. So that was updated. If you will turn to the very last page, that contains a summary of all the changes made to the budget. Building administration revised their budgets, and I appreciate all the work they put into that. That's not an easy task in the middle of the year to do that. I went through it line by line and made adjustments based on additional information. There's been a bit of movement up and down on both revenues and expenditures. If you compare this budget to the budget that was adopted in June, the single biggest change has to do with assessed valuation. When the June budget is created, we are making a guess on what our assessed valuation is by taking a look back at our historical data based on an assessment year or a non-assessment year. This allows us to calculate an average that can be used for budget development. And during this process, we maintain a fiscally conservative approach and apply that to our estimates. For this amendment, the actual assessed valuation is known. So this amendment incorporates that information. Due to our current tax protests, which over the last 3 years have accumulated a little over $28 million in escrow, our approach must again remain conservative as we plan for ongoing and potential additional costs associated with those protests. You will see balance projections on this summary page, which are for operating funds, which are funds 1 and 2. These two funds show a decline in projected balances of $206,000, which is about half of what was projected in June. We projected in June that it would be about a $550,000 reduction in those balances. Now, after this amendment, we've got that down to about $206,000. My overall position on budgeting remains conservative. I feel comfortable with what I'm presenting to you this evening, and I anticipate that we will finish in a better position at the end of the school year. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
I just want to note that hard copies were passed out, but the budget was available to us last Wednesday.
Yeah.
We did have a bit of a challenge trying to pull those bond funds out in order to show a relatively accurate amount. And so you will see on there, I have the second to the last row says excluding bond issue. So I put that $19 million there. to show that those funds are earmarked for Prop SG projects. So I didn't want that included in there, and anybody to think that that's just money we have to spend on operation.
Right.
Unrelated budget, but to be budgeted for, I saw earlier when we approved the bills payments in the consent agenda, there was $83,000 to the St. Genevieve County Assessment Fund. I assume that's another payment for legal fees.
That was our portion of the legal fees, I think for the last 2 or 3 months. I think it's by quarter.
And can you repeat that amount that's held in escrow currently?
It's a little over $28 million over the
That's our
last,
portion.
that's our portion over the last 3 years.
So is, of that 28, I mean, that's grown 100% of it. We aren't anticipating, do you anticipate some of it we will be able to probably collect or keep? Do you?
Well, I sure would like to think so. But it all depends. I mean, it's in the State Tax Commission's hands. And however they rule, assuming the other party, whoever is on the losing end of that, is going to appeal that. And at that point, legal fees are going to accrue much faster. And then depending on how long that takes will determine what amount of money we need to have in reserve to pay those fees. Last year, I think we budgeted, I think the June amendment or the June budget that was presented had $400,000 built in for that. So it is accruing slowly right now based on where it is in the process. Once it gets past the State Tax Commission, I anticipate those legal fees increasing significantly.
It's interesting that there was an announcement recently that the biggest protester is adding a $100 million project to the facility. I'm a little challenged to talk about this subject right now.
Dr. Taylor, on the subject of finances and budget, can you talk about the DESE grant we got?
I'm going to defer to the person who wrote the grant. Dr. McLeod, would you like to talk about the grant?
Sure. I'll give you a little preview. We're still working on, we got a grant for competency-based education. The state, I think, awarded, I want to say 2.2 million. And a few other districts were awarded the grant as well. Our total amount was $399,800 something. I left $102 on the table. But we wrote it primarily for the work that we're already currently doing. So it's really the message for teachers, I think right now is it's not in addition to what we're doing, it's just extending the current work that we are doing. So the primary focus of the grant is to create a foundational base of what is competency-based education, why are we even talking about it, and then talking about our curriculum, making sure that we're boiling down our priority standards, because I think Robert Marzano says if you try to teach all of them, that's 22 years. We don't have kids for 22 years. So we need to prioritize and kind of combine them. And we already do that work during the summer, but this is just scaling it a little bit deeper and then taking that work and looking at our assessments. Do our assessments align? Are there different ways that we can assess besides pencil paper? Can we do projects? Can we observe and see that students have mastered it? And then just continuing to build from there. And we covered it a couple times during some of the presentations. Like, we're already doing some of the work. You just saw firsthand a demonstration of mastery. So having a student speak to you in Spanish and be able to have a conversation, that's better than just like paper pencil, like, hey, I memorized that for the test, now I'm moving on. And so we want to continue that work, and we're able to bring in some possible speakers that are well versed in it. There's a group called I4PL. It stands for something personalized learning. But they are based out of Kettle Moran, and they have switched over their whole system, K through 12, to be a competency-based education system. So they've lived it. They know it, and they know what comes with some of the growing pains as far as like creating a system like that. We had a couple teachers go to the boot camp, and they came back raving saying, hey, I don't know if you know about this group, but you should bring them in. Well, that was part of the grant. The great thing with the grant is that there's some flexibility in it. So if we see that the timeline that because I did have to put it together pretty quickly, if it's a little bit too aggressive, and that's the conversation that we're having as an administrative team, we can back off of that, and we're actually going to have some of the people that I wrote down as vendors come and present to us as an admin team so they can explain some of the sessions that we proposed, and then be able to say, you know what, I think we should adjust that, or let's move that back a whole nother year. Another piece of that is, since we were awarded the grant, there's a goal to spread that knowledge. So within that grant, there's also an opportunity to be able to invite other people in, whether that's our RPDC, maybe some other school districts, and we're kind of like a model school district. And as we learn, we're probably going to invite other people to learn alongside us. That way we have other collaborators. That way, if you are doing Spanish, you can still talk to another school district that has a Spanish teacher, and you're still kind of like building that along with other colleagues.
Cool. So it's going to be used for like PD type things to.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And some of that savings will be passed along, but I would say more than anything, the monetary value is going to be in addition to. So I don't know how much, like we typically pay for one speaker for the year. So we would probably use that money for that one speaker to be based on like what our goal is with competency-based education, be able to roll that money into something else. So I don't know how much money we're going to necessarily save on the budget, but this is money that we're going to be able to go deeper with our PD.
Yeah. And a follow-up question, so the SRSN got 400 as well. Is that covering like salaries of those?
Yeah, I read through their grant. Some of it is for the facilitator salaries because they're having to do like 5 meetings a week, I think. But some of it is to bring in other presenters. And I've shared the links with our people a couple times, but they're bringing in people from Marzano, Core Collaborative, I think another group. And right now they have them. If you go to SRSN Deeper Pathways, they are posting the videos. So anybody, even if they're not part of SRSN, has access to these people that are being paid fairly well for their knowledge. But even if you're not part of this group, you're able to watch those. So if you're looking at like proficiency skills with Marzano, they break down the process of how to do it. Now, those videos aren't up there forever. So if somebody's interested in it, they probably should watch them fairly soon. I think they said Marzano would be up 6 months according to their contract, and the other would be maybe a year.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Mrs. Westbrook Hodge, State Board, and told her how appreciative we were, and she said she was so excited to see that we were on the list, and so that's the way of the future. So
yeah,
it's good to hear that.
Very exciting. I know it's Success Ready Student Network is on the award list, but there's only, I think I count 6 school districts who won this grant. So
yes,
thank you for your
That's
effort. Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
He didn't have a lot of time to put it together. He did a great job. It was a short turnaround time that we had to get that in, and it was quite a lengthy document.
Yes, yeah. It was a learning experience.
Sorry to hijack the budget discussion, but I thought it was worthwhile discussing. So
Absolutely should.
We are still on the budget. Any other questions for Dr. McCord?
Congratulations. Great.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the February amended budget for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda are custodial services.
Okay. Over the past several years, it has become increasingly more difficult to identify and hire staff. It seems everywhere you go, there's a bus in a parking lot with a big banner on it saying hiring bus drivers. This challenge is spread throughout our workforce, and nowhere is it more evident than in our custodial staff. We've been down 2 floaters for over a year, and we're down 2 additional personnel at this point, I believe. Our current custodial staff has worked hard to keep up with their assigned areas as well as pick up slack due to missing staff. I had a meeting with them today, and I just can't, after the PD day on Friday where we had 2 other school districts here and our facilities were in tip-top shape, they have worked so hard picking up the slack for those not here, but also picking each other up and helping where needed. They've filled in. They've done so without complaining, and it has been this way for a long time, and they deserve better, to be quite honest with you. Anticipating these ongoing issues, Dr. Fleet began investigating the possibility of contracting with custodial service, and we identified a company to come in and provide us with some training, some expertise, and some suggestions on how we should do things. This plan was not able to be implemented in a way that successfully addressed our needs. So this brings us to our current school year and our ongoing staffing challenges. We developed a request for proposals for custodial services, which received quite a bit of interest. Christy took several phone calls from different companies. We ended up having 2 companies submit. HES Facilities Management met all the criteria listed in the RFP and was able to develop a plan for our district that aligns with our mission. We began the process of investigating contracted services. We wanted to be upfront with our current custodial staff, so I had a meeting with them and told them what we were thinking. They had a lot of questions I couldn't answer. Today, my meeting with them went much better because we were able to honor our word to them that we would not harm them regarding benefits or regarding salaries. Roger Hollenbach, Vice President of Business Development, is here with us this evening to provide some background on their company and answer any questions you may have regarding the proposal, which is included in your packet.
Great.
Roger.
Hello.
Hello.
Of course, we're very excited to have the opportunity to be here. I mean, I think the plan that Dr. Taylor and I and others have worked on to try to make sure that your folks are protected, trained well, and can get to do a fair day's work. Now, we want to hire enough people so that you're fully staffed, but also have systems in place so that everybody does a fair day's work. So we work really hard to make sure we have work instructions set up where it's equally assigned to each person. So one person isn't doing all the work and somebody else is not.
So the proposal that you have before you is basically 2 umbrellas. Our current staff will stay under our umbrella with our benefits package and our salary. HES would step in then, and they have, one of the selling points was they have an entire department, division, I don't know what you call them, in order to seek out employees and get the onboarding done and help them get through the process, bring them on board. They would fall under the HES umbrella regarding their salary and benefits package. All of our employees, through retirement, through attrition, for whatever reason, they find a new job, a new opportunity. If they leave us, a new employee would then be hired underneath the HES umbrella.
And you have a system that you hire mostly local?
Absolutely. I mean, it's we have a very large recruiting department, and besides traditional methods, I mean, we go to churches, we go to different places to try to recruit people. Hiring bonuses are a big part of what we do, along with referral bonuses with the existing staff that's here. Our kind of motto that we do, it's really all about retention. So a lot of cleaning companies, they're constantly hiring, but what we try to do is try to make their job fun. We only do work in educational institutions, K through 12, and colleges and universities, and we do that because the people that work at K through 12 and universities, they treat our employees with respect. You go into a commercial industry or you do other things, custodial folks are kind of looked down upon, so it makes it more difficult, but we really try to teach our people how to do things right, the right uniforms, the work procedures, even the materials we use to clean. So we don't use the same color mop to mop the restroom as we're going to go mop the kitchen, or different microfibers for what we're going to wipe a desk with as compared to, you know, a bathroom sink or counter or stall wall.
Can you talk some about the how you guys integrate with, if we maintain our staff here and you bring in additional, you know, call them employees, how you integrate those things? Like, do you have other schools that do that as well?
So actually, we have a program that's called the nutrition program. So we do it at lots of institutions where the school districts want to keep their existing people, and we bring in the management, we bring in the training, we bring in the supplies, we teach all of the people how to do the work, and then as people retire out or as they leave, then we would replace with our existing people. Within our proposal, we have, you know, additional pricing, you know, to add another, what we call them as an FTE, a full-time employee, if someone might leave. Again, we would have to make sure that we would have the management staff here, so we set up the systems, we set up the work instructions. We would, in essence, be managing your people to do the work that's here.
I see in the reference section, you have, amongst many school districts, contracts at WashU and SLU also, and there's quite a few reference letters, one dated December 2023 that says you had a job fair where over 100 applicants showed up for 40 positions when the school was averaging 2 applications a month.
Right.
Is that typical?
No, it depends on how many people we're trying to get. I mean, last year, we started a school district in Illinois, District 230, that's there, where we went in and there were supposed to be 85 employees there. When we got there, there were only 42 people there. Of course, we start the process early, so 60 days before, we're trying to pull what's going on, but we were able to get them. It takes a while to get the full staff and to get them working steady to where they come every day, but I think within about 4 months, we had it fully staffed to where we had a trained staff in place. But at a place like Washington University, I used to be in operations before this, but there's around 200 employees at WashU. We started that within a week when they made that, and we took over from a very large company, and we were staffed very quickly on that because of the people that would desire to work there.
Once you get to you where you need to be, whatever that takes, is there a fairly good, or I guess low turnover rate?
So in our industry, I mean, the industry standard for custodial for companies can be upwards of 200%. Our turnover is in the 30% range, but typically what happens is to where you have 3 or 4 or 2 people where you're short, what happens is there's always 1 or 2 people that are churning a little bit. But what we do that's different than others is we have a program called Pathway to Success for all of our new employees. What we found is most of the turnover happened for our employees within the first 60 days. And part of that is how welcome you make them feel. You know, do you bring them on board? Do you show them where to park, where to, you know, have the orientation, have a mentor that works with them for a period of time so that they feel comfortable? Because really, if they go to work and they don't like the people they're working with, they're going to leave and go find something else. So we try to make it so they like their work. The manager has to have input with the new employee. There's a report that they fill out once a week for every new employee to make sure that they're getting that training and they're having that personal one-on-one time.
So you will train our current employees as well?
Absolutely, yes.
I read in here also that, and I think it's a key, you keep, I don't know if it's daily or weekly contact with the building level administrators to see what their needs and wants are.
So I think at this point we're maybe going to be reporting to the facility manager, I believe, that's here. But at the same time, we have, on a regular basis, we have a principal's report card that we have the principals fill out on a regular basis. That's usually at least once a month. It just has a simple scoring system from 1 to 10 that we do, along with, we have a quality control system that gives you APA scores in each of the areas of the building. So your building may have an APA score of, let's say it's 2, but it also breaks the scoring down into hallways, restrooms, classrooms. You don't want to end up saying if your building's a 2, you might like that, but you don't want your restrooms to be a 4 and something else to be a 1, so it average. So we use those tools to train our employees so that we can get all the scores up in all the areas.
Can you talk about are there any benefits provided to these employees?
So we have options for benefits. So yes, so there's full health benefits that are provided to them. I mean, they have a copay like anybody else would. And then we also offer other options if they don't want to spend that much money for a fully comprehensive plan. They can get what we call MEC insurance, which is kind of where it pays you an amount like a athlete kind of thing. But we have a lot of different tiers. We even offer things like daily pay for employees that want to do that, because it takes a while for an employee when you interview them and you go through all this process. Usually we interview over the phone 10 people to get one person to come in for an interview. And by the time you get through that and then get through all the background checks that are necessary to have somebody work in a school, you know, they haven't received any money during that time, so you need to be able to get them on board and get them a paycheck as soon as possible. So we found in some cases the employees like the daily pay option.
So that's healthcare. What about retirement benefits?
So there are no retirement benefits. I mean, we have 401k program if somebody wants to donate to that. The hard part for us is we're in a competitive industry, so when you start looking at those things, other companies don't offer those. So if you just decide you're going to, you know, you can lose competitiveness with other companies.
But our current employees will keep their peers, we'll keep donating our part, contributing our part.
Correct.
And that'll stay that way. If we go with this, they'll be managed by a separate management company, but still be giving the benefits that they.
Still under our umbrella. Yep.
And sorry to keep asking the same question. So health insurance, you mentioned, I guess there's like a copay, or the employee contributes part of the cost of that. How much?
Right. So it's typically, I think it's around $130 or $40 a month they would pay for a fully comprehensive plan, like a PPO.
Okay. And to be brutally honest, so I seen Watch You and I see SLU, and was it Rittenhour?
Yeah.
Rittenhour's public, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it difficult because Missouri public school retirement system is very robust. It's a good benefit package. My wife's a teacher, so I know.
Right.
Even for and she's there's the PSRS, which is for the public teachers, and there's the peers for like we call it custodial, maintenance, just staff employees, and 7.5.
6.86.
6.86% of their salary is contributed to retirement, plus they get, here anyway, full paid board insurance. So it's, I'm not questioning that you can fulfill this, but I think it's going to be challenging. And I'm not discounting that you won't be able to. I'm hopeful you'll be able to.
So let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
So a couple.
I don't understand.
So a couple of years ago, I actually sold it. It was Langston University in Langston, Oklahoma. So it's a town of 235 people. The university is the only thing that's there. There was a post office there. So a large company that you may have heard of, Sodexo, had been there for 10 years. And that particular facility, you know, the contract was, of course, full facility. So the electricians, the maintenance people, the grounds people, and the custodial people. Well, they couldn't staff hardly anybody. Well, again, we did the same thing where you talk about the recruiting program, the grassroots thing, looking at the towns that are 5 to 7 miles away. We also put training programs together for our people. So we have maintenance people and we have custodial managers and supervisors that are at other places where they want to be promoted to go someplace else. So we're, you know, a year later, a place that had probably 80 people, you know, we're fully staffed and we have extra people at a place like that. So we're in Harrisonville. We have a school, you know, we have the Harrisonville School District. So we set up our management and our team so that the person that's here, he manages all the operations, she, and they're going to work with your team here, the facilities team. So they don't have to get questions answered all the time from some executive at our company. They do it there. We have a recruiting team that, not only the team that's in St. Louis, but we have a regional recruiting team, and we have regional admin assistants. So what they're really doing, instead of having the manager worry about recruiting people or making telephone calls or interviewing lots of people, our recruiting team lines up somebody to come to do an interview here on site with our manager that's here. So the only time they spend is the time to talk to that employee to see if they're going to be part of that team. So we're very successful at the recruiting, whether it be a place that has, we have a school district in Florida where we have 1,000 employees at the school district that's there. We have other school districts where we have 10. So, it's not, this is less because of how we have this model set up, but we have all of our overheaded management and all of that is incorporated in it. So you're going to get just as much attention and visits and audits as any other place.
So the package that we're talking about includes filling the open slots that we currently have. And then I'm kind of shot in the dark here, an on-site manager and then some regional supervision.
Right. So there will be a salaried manager that's here that's responsible for daytime and nighttime operations. We have a supervisor on board. They're all here on site, along with basically 2.5 people in addition to that. We have our regional person is in St. Louis. So they're, for all of their accounts, they have to make a visit at least every 4 weeks. Startup is totally different. How much time somebody has to spend when it's new and all of those things. But that person is talking to not only the facilities people, if it's Dr. Taylor or Dr. McClare, whoever is part of that team. We also have 2 times a year, we have a BVR, a business value review, where we would want to sit down, all of our leadership with your leadership team, go through all the KPIs of our performance, and you all rate us. And probably the biggest thing that's there is we have a score from 1 to 10 that your leadership team would grade us on. We have an average that's over 9. In this whole area. So we put a lot of emphasis. We're not on the stock market or anything else. We're privately owned. We only do education, so we know the market.
Talk a little bit about the time. This is one of the things that kind of piqued my interest too. For so long, we've had a working supervisor here that the supervisory duties were second to the work that they needed to get complete based on who was absent that day. And I think you said 85% of your So
our salaried manager, 85% of their time, they're walking around buildings. They're meeting the stakeholders, the principals, the different people to make sure we're meeting the needs that are there. They're spending time with the employees. I mean, there's good and bad with the custodial workforce. Most people that want to be a custodian, they don't want to have somebody standing over them telling them what to do. What they like about being a custodian is they're on their own. They can go do what they want to do, and someone's not, get busy like a fast food restaurant or something. So a lot of people like to be a custodian, but the management still has to spend time with them and make them feel like they're part of the team. We do little things like a safety meeting. We have a safety topic that's 5 minutes every day. The 5 minutes is important that we talk about the safety topic, but the whole idea that we do that is to get everybody together just to talk. It's talking about that topic, but is anything else going on that they want to talk about, to make them feel like they're part of the team. And then as far as you guys, your all's business is education. Your business isn't custodial. So, we know custodial. We're educated on custodial. We know the newest thing that's happening all the time.
I appreciate that. It's been years, but my grandfather was a custodian here for 15 years, and he always felt like he belonged. He was a dragon, so.
No, I mean, we're only as good as the person that's doing the cleaning for us.
Is this a 1 year?
So typically what we ask for, because there's equipment involved, is we ask for a 5-year contract, but it has a 30, 60 day out. So if you don't like what we're doing, you can get out of it anytime. We just look at yearly, we end up, working with Dr. Taylor on, we look at a lot of things. A lot of the places where we're at, we try to line increases up with what is the district doing. So we don't want to end up giving our employees a 7% raise if you're giving everybody in the district 3 or 4. We know we like to follow CPI to try to see what's going on, but we need to be realistic with that. So we're a small school district and we want to be part of your team. So, we work together to make it work. It's the same with larger companies will also come to you and want to extra charge you for different things. We try to use the team that we have to do everything that needs to be done on site. It doesn't mean you don't have emergency or a flood or something that happens that you have to get everybody in on a weekend or some other time. But we don't want to come and just say we want to charge you double because this is happening. We want to try to work within that budget.
We talked before, I mean, financially, this is about the same. It's just almost even.
If we were up to full staff, it would be about the same.
I mean, I kind of agree with Josh, on some things like, we got a robust package and stuff, but we haven't been able to fill it. So, and you're telling us that you will.
Again, it's, you guys have a, yeah, you're exactly, I mean, I'm totally confident with the wage rates where we're at that we can hire people to fill the slots here.
The way I look at it, I mean, it's been a struggle for us to keep fully staffed and, it's just, not that it's not important, but it seems like we shouldn't have to worry so much about this and, just to turn things over to you, we just want the place, we want custodians here, we want it clean, we got expectations, and at the end of the day, that's really all I care about.
Well, we want to be that person. I mean, we take care of the people because that's the only way to do it, is to take care of the people. But we don't want you to have to worry about it. When we set up our quality systems, it takes a little time for you to trust the scores that we're giving ourselves. We try to train our managers. It's okay to give yourself a bad score because we use that tool to get better. But we want you to believe the scores that you're giving so you don't have to worry about walking around. We'd rather tell somebody we've got a problem over here and we're going to work on it than try to hide it.
I think Eric alluded to it too. I know these folks are proud of our academic success, proud of our athletic success, but we've also been proud that this has always been a beautiful, clean, sparkling campus that many will brag about beyond St. Janet. It's been a struggle, I think, for staff to keep it that way because they're pushed, as Dr. Taylor alluded to. So I certainly hope if we go this route, you can help us achieve that and keep it.
We can. And the key is by getting the staff here, it's going to help your existing staff so they don't feel the pressure, because typically when you get in this fix, the people are so stressed with trying to keep up that they decide they want to do something else. So it's the best for the whole team.
Can you talk, you mentioned merit increases, that sort of thing. Can you talk about how that process works year over year? So is it yearly, quarterly?
It's yearly. It doesn't mean that we don't have something in our budget that we can't give a merit increase to somebody because they're doing a great job.
Okay.
We do lots of little things that actually are more successful than that. Like, we have, and again, it's based on the locations and where the stores are, but our employees love, $5, $10 gas cards or Walmart cards just to say thank you for doing something good or something right. But our increases are based on yearly increases. I mean, of course, if there's something that's mandated where a minimum wage, typically in our industry, our workers work hard. So it's not like others where you don't have to do a lot. You're busy and you're working. So we have to pay our people more than minimum wage to get the job done. So that would be an area. Let's say if the minimum wage went up to something high and we weren't at that level, we would come talk to you about it. The same thing we would do is if we were having trouble recruiting people, we would come and talk to you about it and keep you abreast of what's going on in the industry. I'm not worried about the rate where we're at right now, but the key for us is we always communicate and we talk to you about it because we're partners.
Do you ever have you had situations where the employees that you have hired, and then like we'll have our employees that still work for us, there's a rub there at all, or like they kind of know maybe who's making what, or you know what I'm saying?
No, there's of course they'll at the beginning, that's going to happen. I mean, we have to be upfront and communicate with everybody, you know, this is our mission, this is what we're here for, this is why these people are here, this is an opportunity for us. But it's really all about how we communicate that message and make everybody feel comfortable. But the key also is treating everybody fairly. So, I mean, we're not going to, you know, when we talk about our work instructions and plans, we're going to give the same amount of work to every person. So it's not, I mean, typically what happens when we come into districts where there's no systems, you end up having a few people that are working twice as hard as the other people, and they don't like it because someone else isn't working. So our people love it when we put the systems in place, because the hard workers, they love a system. The people that aren't doing anything, and I'm not saying that's the case, but the people that aren't doing anything, they hate the system because they're responsible for doing the same amount as everybody else.
I do appreciate the detailed procedures, supplies, everything. There's no
Well,
question.
it's important. It's, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you-
I think something else that Bailey and I were talking through this, that you have to take into consideration is the amount of time that Mr. Carl puts in to custodial services. Now, he didn't have that for a while and was able to focus on his maintenance duties. Now he's taken that on again because he's a dragon, and he stepped up to the plate and said he would do it. Not to mention the time that Megan spends, not to mention the time that I spend, that Dr. McClard spends, in interviews, working with them, trying to, you know, provide them with what they need. So there's a lot of management time on our side that, you know, when you say that we're still going to have our employees and they're going to have, in my mind, this is going to be a team, and they're under the supervision of HES. And even though we're still paying their salary and we're still maintaining their benefits, they're going to be under that supervision umbrella of HES, and they're going to be a team.
And you met with the team today?
Met with the team today.
And that individual will communicate directly with Mr. Carl or with you? Or?
So that's something we're going to have to work through. I would really like to take that away from Davey and let him focus on his maintenance team and his maintenance duties, instead of pulling him away. But I have a sneaky suspicion Davey's going to want to be involved. But that's something we're going to have to work through. And we're going to have to identify that chain of command from the supervisor up.
So our custodial staff now, we're still writing the checks to them.
Correct.
It's just any new employees is under HES.
Correct.
Which will be that 2.5.
Well, it's actually it's 4.5 total people right now because of the manager and the supervisor.
Correct.
Mhm.
Well, I know Dr. Taylor knows this, but I've been skeptical. And I hear tonight that our employees will be protected, that you'll continue to treat them like they're dragons, you know, and this is right now it's a wash. It takes it off Davey's plate. So I hear a lot of good things, and I appreciate all the effort you put into that, especially listening to me over the last few weeks.
Let me add one more thing that we do that I don't know of another company that does it, and we've been doing it for years. But all of our employees, we put your school logo on their uniform, and we do it because we want our employees to feel like they're part of the district. So we still may have our logo on a sleeve or someplace small so that you all know who those people are. But for us, it's really, how do we get everybody to feel part of the team? We want our manager to be part of your team and sit in on everything. I mean, it's the only way it really works, is that we really don't think about there's a contractor here. It's really, we're managing the services, but we're a dragon too.
Right.
I want to add one thing. So what sold me,
Big salary.
I'm very analytical, as you can tell. So our custodial staff currently makes $14.81 base, starting out base pay. If you multiply that by the 6.86% extra that they're getting for retirement, that's $15.82 an hour. Plus they're actually getting $4.58 an hour for the board paid health insurance as well. To give or take $21 an hour basically is effectively what they're making. If you were telling me you can staff these people at $16 an hour, It's all you.
Well, no, and at the same time, when you talk about the benefits, our benefits, the comprehensive benefits are $500 and some. So that if the employee pays $140,
Yeah.
we pay the $3 or $3.50 towards the health benefits too. So it's a little bit different, but
Yeah, I
you
figured
know, it's-
83
yeah.
cents an hour is what they would pay for health insurance with you, which effectively makes her pay $15.90.
Good.
So,
Just one quick, to reiterate, it's a 5-year contract?
It's set up as a 5-year contract, but the thing that doesn't scare me is there's an out.
We can get out. Yeah.
If he doesn't like us or if we don't
Right.
like him, there's a process.
It's easy. It's easy. 'Cause we don't want to be here. If you're not happy with us, it's not fun for anybody if no one's happy.
And I didn't mean you, Roger.
No, I know.
and I also didn't want to say that I'm skeptical. It's just been a long road to get
No.
there. So,
Well, I know when I talked to Dr. Taylor, when you talked about bringing the other company in early on and how you tried to divide it up a little bit to where someone does this, those kinds of things never work. And I know when Dr. Taylor brought it to my attention, I said, well, we're not interested in that. So, so it's, we're pretty easy at saying, no, that's not going to work because we don't want to go there. So we feel like we put a plan together that will work for both parties.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also opportunity for like leadership to like move up. Is it?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a system within our company that sends texts out to all of our hourly people when there's supervisor openings or manager openings. So if we're fortunate enough to pick up this piece of business, the same thing will happen for the manager and the supervisor that's here. Does anybody want to make a move? So we have lots of activity with all of that where people want to go to a different place or there may be a family member near somewhere. So we're amazed. We have 12,000 employees. We're in 28 states. So when that stuff spreads around, we get a lot of activity.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
Yes.
answering all of the questions.
Okay.
I know, if it hasn't been Dr. Taylor and Dr. Fleeg, it was possibly also Dr. Lindsay, who's been struggling with this problem, if not since COVID, probably before COVID. So I appreciate all the answers.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the custodial service proposal from HES as presented.
second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the custodial services proposal. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We won't let you down.
Thank you.
All right, to the poor folks who've had to wait.
But you learned so much about
But you know
custodial
so much
services.
more now. Yes. Next on the agenda is the Science Club stipend proposal.
Mrs. Diamond, would you like to speak? You're more than welcome. So I will help you. So I think that these two proposals have been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And something, COVID always seems to happen, to push them to the side. But for whatever reason, I was going through my inbox and I saw, I think, the robotics club proposal, and I remembered that the science club was talking about it, and they both do quality work with our students and spend a significant time with our students after school hours, in addition to their teaching contracts. So I worked with both of them to develop two proposals that you have in your board packet. I feel like they're reasonable given the amount of time that they spend with their students. And they're also in alignment with other stipends that are provided. So I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, Katie, or not.
Well, so Science Club is a monthly club that we hold in the middle school. It's 2 days a month because it's so large that we had to actually split the grade levels. It's about an hour or so every every like second Tuesday and Wednesday of the month. And we just do different things that kind of, we're trying to get them excited about science so that one day they might become scientists, or in that field at least. And so we do things like dissections, bring in liquid nitrogen and make liquid nitrogen ice cream. We do like roller coasters. We've done Estes rockets, and just the things that you don't get to do in a typical science curriculum that makes those types of students really excited about science or where they could go with it.
And so Tuesday, you have what grade level?
6th grade.
And how many students is that?
So it's surprisingly our 6th graders are lower. I want to say there's maybe 50 in that one that are signed up. Now they don't all go on the day, of course, things happen, but that have at least signed up. And then there's probably between 60 to 70 in 7th and 8th grade. Because I guess they liked it so much and so they kept going. So it is very big and sometimes overwhelming, which is why we do need all 3 of us. So we added Rachel, who's not here today, Rachel Hain and Kendall Dobbs, who also lead it with me. And we all 3 kind of work together to plan and make it fun.
And so you mentioned it was an hour after school. So is it scheduled from like 3 to 4 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays?
It's 3:15 to 4:15 is the schedule.
And that doesn't include pickup time, that doesn't include planning time, getting the liquid nitrogen and all the supplies you need.
Are you a former science teacher? I have one question. We're not going to prorate this, are we?
No.
What is that?
What?
Like they're only
They're
getting
gonna
it
go back in time.
I don't think so.
Katie, I want to thank you. When I was at the middle school teaching science, I did science club. I know what you're doing. Keep up the good work. It's a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm happy to make a motion.
Oh.
Not prorated, right, Jerry?
No, we won't prorate it. Okay, I make a motion to approve the addition of a science club extra duty stipend in the amount of 3.53% of the base salary, not prorated. Martha?
Yeah.
There were a few seconds there.
I'm sorry.
That's how
Oh,
exciting
is it Martha?
Yes. Sounds good.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve the science club extra duty stipend. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the robotics club stipend.
Much the same as the science stipend. The robotics club stipend has been in the inbox and in the works, and they've been working hard. I think you heard a little bit from Crystal this evening, and would you like to stand up and speak?
I don't know that I touched on it, but it is a student-led thing. So, for example, our teams can be disqualified if they catch me helping them a little too much. And so you see parents here tonight because I told them what I was doing, and they saw what we do, and so if you have questions too, they're willing to answer questions as well. But they saw what we're doing, and they love what we're doing, and I think it's very much worthwhile. But just like Katie, we meet after school. I also have a room open in the mornings. I have students that come every morning. Some of my students will come every morning working on the robots to make sure that they are problem solving and making sure that they work and researching themselves. I do research. They learn about gear ratios, things that elementary students and middle school students never thought of before. So they learn so many new things, and it's a social emotional lesson as well because they have to power through. They're in there all year. Nadia and I were talking a couple months ago about having the team ready, because usually it happens around September, October, but we would like to have the team ready in May so that we're ready to start in August, because we have competitions already happening in October and I want them to be ready. So, do you have questions? Thank you very much.
I was going to comment, there was a competition several of us were at last
There was a
year.
board meeting, I think, and we were reminded ahead of time.
You mentioned the social emotional piece because it wasn't just the competition, but they worked in teams and they had to help fix each other's issue.
You don't expect it to be really loud, it's just quiet, and the kids are just like focused, like, they can focus like that.
It was really neat. Thank you very much.
We practice on Wednesdays, and if you want to come to a competition ever, an actual competition somewhere, you'll be sold immediately. Like you'll be like, we want this everywhere. It is just such a powerful thing. We also want to expand to the high school and just keep growing programs.
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of the Robotics Club extra duty stipend in the amount of 3.3% of the base salary.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the addition of a robotics club extra duty stipend. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any personnel changes approved during closed session this evening, we provided in a draft meeting minutes within 72 hours of adjournment. And then I believe we are going to go back to close, whoever would like to make that.
Doesn't Gary have to?
Yeah, I think I have to. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn and resume closed session. Motion to adjourn the open session of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the St. Genevieve County R2 School District and resume the closed meeting with a closed record and a closed vote for purposes listed in the revised Missouri Statute Section 610.021. Roll call vote.
Second.
Wait, you do that, don't you? Or do
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Eric was your second.
Okay, hang on a minute here. Okay, I've got that in. Okay.
Jamie Ballou?
Yes.
Eric Bosler?
Yes.
You'd think I know all their names. David Bova? Yes. Geraldine Diesel?
Yes.
Josh Gettinger?
Yes.
James Kirschner?
Yes.
Martha Reesinger?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.